What is all this? Explain it to me. How would you sit there and explain it?
Jeff, go ahead.
I would have to go over, I mean, the whole document. I mean, it's confusing enough as it is. I mean, the project is confusing still to me. That's why I don't want to say I'm. It's a strange referendum question. I'll
It
put
is a
that way.
strange, it is a strange referendum question, and there is a lot of information here. Everyone knows here that a person, when they get something in the mail, that they're only gonna read a short period, and that's it. And this is a lot. Not saying that it's a good job and everything, but are people gonna sit there and take time and read all this? I mean, I look at my water bill, I look at the price, okay, that's it.
Jeff, go ahead.
Well, I mean, the council directed staff to obviously have this question on the ballot this April. I mean, it is a huge project for the community, so I almost seeing it as being irresponsible if all the information's not out there. You just can't have a sentence and ask somebody to make a $20 million decision. So it's a difficult decision either way. I mean, there's pros and cons to both sides here.
I,
Go ahead.
I understand what you're saying, but like, this whole front page, that's a lot. I thought we were just gonna get the prices, maybe a picture, and then the question. Because that is a lot easier to read than all this. I mean, they send out referendums for College of DuPage and for other things, and, you know, half the time, we don't even get anything on it. You go to the College of DuPage referendum and say they want $8 million on their tax bill, and how much stuff do you get from them on a referendum for information? And I'm not trying to push this along or anything, but I'm just trying to explain, get it out there and saying, okay, I don't want someone to say, well, I didn't know about it. I understand what you're saying too, Jeff, but if I got all this, I would just say, okay. And then worry about the question when I go to vote.
Mr. Murmish.
Yeah, I mean, staff thought this was what the council wanted. If you want a shorter version, we'll condense it. I mean, it's totally up to you. I mean, this is what we originally came up with based upon the last time we met, where you guys asked for more information. Now, if you want less information, we can accommodate, but we need to make a decision soon, because we already have our other referendum informational out there already. It's already on Channel 6. We did the movie, so that's already out there. So we need to make a decision in short order so we can get that information out there.
Alderman Cadella?
I hear what Alderman Wesley's saying, and in large part, I agree that there's probably a certain population out there that's going to be overwhelmed, but at the same time, there's a certain population out there that realizes this is one of the biggest things that could make a major change in this city, and they're going to want information. So to those who don't want to read it and want to throw it out, fine, be an uneducated voter. I don't, you know. But to those who care, I think that it's our responsibility to give them this information. And I'm on the other side of the fence. I still think that there's some things that are critical and are missing.
Besides the comments that were made earlier? Or something else? Alderman Roy Wesley, go ahead. Eugene, I'm sorry.
You know, April 5th is right around the corner here, guys, and if we're going to educate our people here, we got to make a decision pretty darn quick here. Because, you know, we're sitting here at a committee meeting discussing this, and we're going to bring it back at council. And if we don't do anything, we're going to come back here next committee meeting and debate this again, so we're looking at another week or two to kill this project, do whatever it's got to do. You know what? I don't care how it's advertised. Let's get out to the people, whatever way you guys want to do it. Let's get out there. I mean, you're 8 weeks away or 9 weeks away from April 5th. And if these people want to do it, then do it. I mean, I've been saying, we're going to go back and forth. We aren't going to please everyone up here on what they want in that referral. We aren't. Let's face it. There's 8 people up here that want something different put in there or whatever. Will never be on the same page on this topic. I guarantee that. Wherever way you look at, we will not be on the same page. I don't care who you look at up here. I don't care just because I'm up here or anyone else up here. We will never, there's stuff in there that I don't want to see. But I'm not going to debate it. Let's get out to the people and let them read it or whatever. Let's give them directions and get it over with.
Did you want to say something? Alderman Cadalla.
I think Alderman Eugene Wesley's got a point. We have to get this out here. As far as I'm concerned, the only thing that's absolutely critical, as long as the map goes out as it's shown with no stoplight, and we're not implying that there may be a stoplight in the future, I'll live with that. I think the only thing that this is absolutely missing is that this is a non-binding referendum. I make a recommendation that that be added somewhere where it's easy to identify, and that everything else in here is fine, and that we move forward with the packet as is proposed by staff.
Is that a motion?
It is a motion.
I'll second it. On the question, Alderman Roy Wesley.
Where are you gonna put non-binding,
Probably put it right by the referendum wording at the end of the document.
right at the end there? Okay.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Lewitton,
Yes.
Alderman Roy Wesley,
Yes,
Alderman Coles,
No.
Alderman Police,
Yes.
Alderman Cadella,
Yes.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
That motion passes. Next item is items to be considered at future meetings. First is 2012 budget. Second is property buyout policies. Anything else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Call the Public Works Committee to order, make the minute taker. Same people are present, except for Alderman Sharkey that left. Approval for February 10th, 2011. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second?
second.
Any changes? Quick. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. I'm going to take this a little bit out of order today. Let's go to item number 5. Report and recommendation to contract award to Baxter and Woods for Reservoir 3-4 engineer service, amount not to exceed $34,500. That is a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 6, report and recommendation and contract award Baxter and Woods Street Safety Study Engineer Service in amount of not to exceed $40,000. That is a motion. Do I have a second?
What?
Item number 6.
Could you give us some information on this?
Mr. Kramer.
Thank you. What you have before you is the street sufficiency study for the upcoming years. Back in 2007, the city completed the last street sufficiency study, and that's what we've been using for reconstruction and resurfacing. The lifespan of that study is nearing its end. In the past, some questions have been raised why streets have been ranked higher than others. So this report in front of you, proposal, is for that new study to be completed in-house and portions of it to be used not only during this year's resurfacing, but up to 5 years worth of resurfacing. And as indicated on the memo, that will be taken out of MFT and not out of the general fund.
2011, 2012 CIP. Alderman Roy Wesley.
I guess, could you explain how this study's gonna be done, or you're just gonna drive down the street and say, we repair this one, or? repair
I'm
that
actually going
one.
to turn that over to Mr. Steffen, and he will.
I
break into
figured
that.
that was how it's gonna go, but
We will evaluate the streets by looking at the cracking and the condition and the type of cracking and the extent of the cracking. And by we'll look at the series of cracks along the street, its frequency, and then the type of cracking, and evaluate the pavements accordingly. And then that will weigh into the scale of the pavement and condition, and then that will all be compiled and summarized together so that we can look at everything together.
Alderman
I
Roy wants to continue, or,
yes, I see a lot of hands going up now.
okay?
You're saying you're just gonna, basically you're saying you're driving down the street and seeing where the cracking is.
No,
Basically what I'm hearing. And I hope I'm not hearing that, because if a street was resurfaced and it was cracked underneath, that street's not gonna last that long. So you're not going to see a crack on a resurfaced street for the first year, but you might see it 2 years later, and then all of a sudden, it opens up pretty quickly.
that is correct. And what we will do is we will look at the historical records, year of last repair, and all those things, elements will be collectively put together with the evaluation to put a recommendation together. So yes, we will be driving down the streets, yeah, but yeah, we will be looking at historical information, the year of last repair, and several other factors to make sure, that we are collectively looking at the street and looking at its life, where it falls within its life cycle, to repair it prior to its deterioration.
I just see that this is gonna be a headache. And I got a feeling that we're gonna see some things here that, on this end of the dais, that we're not gonna agree with on some of the things that you find, because we're gonna say some streets were worn more than others. And I find it, I can't see, is there a way of doing another way by just going down the street and seeing cracks and, I mean, is there, do all towns do it that way? It's a stupid question, but
No, it's
I'm
not a
asking
stupid
it.
question. There are other ways of determining that. There's some equipment out there that will evaluate the pavement and videotape the pavement, electronically calculate the condition. But then I've seen those reports also give false information by looking at it, not seeing the series of cracks, as you had previously indicated, giving a false representation of the condition of the pavement. And, so I've seen it both ways. It's been our experience, and we do quite a few of these on an annual basis, to look at the condition, collectively put the historical information together through staff and getting everybody's input into what happened, what they're experiencing, where they're seeing a change in use, et cetera, and then collectively put together the best strategic plan.
I also hope that you put in consideration that roads that are underwater for a couple of days, that you put that into consideration as you do your studies of these streets that might need to be repaired sooner than later. Because I think that's very important when you have streets that are underwater for 3, 4, 5, maybe a week. And I think that ruins the base underneath. I'm not an engineer, you're the engineer, so.
Yes, absolutely, and that's considered as well as we look at some of the other infrastructure that's on the streets. We'll look at and have input into the water main condition. We're currently working on the analysis of the water main. We'll look at the condition, the series of breaks. Again, we try to weigh in, take all those factors, weigh those into our recommendation so that we're not repairing a street and then next year we come back and fix the water main. Or, the following year, come in and do some work on the sanitary sewer. So collectively, we pull all those pieces of information together so that we can look at the flooding, we look at the base condition, sub-base conditions, et cetera. And those, all those elements are imported into, our decision.
Okay. If you do get this contract and you do the work, before, especially for my ward, I'd like to see where you stand on that and evaluate your findings
Absolutely.
and ask you, why is this and why is that? So, that's it. Thank you.
Alderman Newfield, please.
Mr. Steffen, from what I recall, the last one was done, I think, just before I came on the council and, or that first year. They said something about a laser that, as they're going down the street, they use some kind of laser to figure the cracks. Naturally, I mean, I know this is the most fair way to do it because, let's face it, everybody's going to pull for their ward. We can't have eight aldermen arguing, no, my street, my street, my street. But now I'm hearing you guys are eyeballing it. It's not going to be like a scientific study. I mean,
The evaluation is based on the series of how many cracks per linear feet, that we experience as you go down the roadway. It's not just an eyeball. There are, we do look at the cracking, the type of cracking, and that all gets factored into the recommendation.
when you say you look at the cracking, I mean, are you literally walking the street and looking at the cracking, or is there something that's telling you?
Oh, absolutely, we get
I
out.
mean, is it scientific or?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Absolutely what? You walk the streets or you
No,
drive?
we absolutely will. Well, it's a scientific function. It's, we look at the series of cracks, the frequency of the cracks, the type of cracks. We get out, we walk sections of it. Some certain sections, are going to have have recently been resurfaced. Those need to get imported into our calculations, but it is based on science. It is based on the numbers. It's not just a willy-nilly saying that we'll choose this will be a 5,
Well,
and this will be a 4.
And that's what I'm trying to get at.
There's a
is
basis on that.
So there's no, oh no, we got to do this street, that street. The study is the study, and we can rely on the facts.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think what Alderman Police is referring to is we were led to believe that the last time this was done, there was some kind of a truck with some kind of a device that scanned the road and gave us a result. I'm pretty sure somebody told us that. But what you're saying, Mr. Stefan, sounds okay, but to the extent that Alderman Roy Wesley was asking his questions, and I agree completely with him, if your observation and your results are going to be based on history, and that history, through whatever paperwork and previous, contracts you can find, plus conversations with staff, that's fine. But if it really is going to be you're just counting cracks, then just let me know what day you're going out there so I can re-crack some of these streets to make sure you get something to count. Because, I don't know, the last sufficiency study, I got a lot of excuses as to why it didn't hold up to the test of time. Some streets deteriorated to something that looked much like post-war Berlin, and then they were band-aided over. And right now, at this point, they probably don't look that bad. So that's what I want to avoid. I mean, how a street could have ranked in '84 or in '86, and then 2 years later, constituents are calling me because they are twisting ankles in potholes is peculiar to me. And that's what I want to avoid. So, this is a different set of eyes. It sounds like it may be a different procedure. It sounds like it's more comprehensive as far as taking history into account. You're telling me everything that I think I need to hear, but I'm still leery because the last one didn't seem to work so good.
To follow up and kind of answer that question, in looking at the streets over the last 3 years, which my street supervisor, myself, we've kind of taken into consideration prior to when the engineering was handling the resurfacing, patching, full depth patching, overlaying of streets. I think really the answer comes down to the interval on which you are looking at these streets and making your decisions. I'm not sure how the last street sufficiency study was completed. By the data, it looks like it was done exactly the way we're proposing to do this one, which is by a eyeball survey of walking the streets. I can go back and see if I can find some data saying that it was driven, videotaped. I have no such videotape and have seen no such videotape if they were done. If the street was driven and used, as Mr. Steffen pointed out, another device that actually inputs that crack spacing into a computer, I don't have any of those calculations. There is a sheet that indicates on a ranking system of good to bad pavement, and that's how they're currently ranked. Today, my street supervisor and I drove out and looked at several streets that are due to be repaired this year, and we found several streets that are due to be repaired in the next several years that are in far worse condition than the ones that are due to be replaced this year. So we'll probably be modifying some of the recommendations that are even in the 2012 through 2015 CIP that has a list of resurfacing streets. And I can just reiterate again, the study was done in '06, the memo said. That's several years ago. I think it's important to complete this survey, maybe at shorter intervals, considering a lot of the area I think Mr. Kadala or Alderman Kadala is alluding to is areas that did have some standing water, specifically in '08. I think a lot of those streets probably did have some base failure, which has caused some surface cracking and some greater problems, as well as some fairly significant winter storm events over the last several years that have probably added to the freeze-thaw cycle, the cracking involved in those. Bottom line, cracking is a telltale sign. If you've got cracking at the surface, you know you've got base problems as well, and there's other issues, but it all stems as that crack allows water in, that water freezes, thaws, goes through, moves that pavement, that's going to continue. So I think the key is keeping up on the evaluation, however we do the evaluation. If you wanted us to go with a more in-depth way of evaluating these streets and bringing in, as Mr. Steffen said, far more sophisticated equipment, we can do that. The cost is going to go up exponentially based on that. And I think we're still better served, in my opinion, I won't speak for Mr. Steffen, in my opinion, of doing it more frequently with somebody that, you know, has experience and can go back and look at the data on when the last time the streets were repaved or work was done to them and make determinations. Honestly, quite honestly, I think at times we're going to be off. There's going to be streets that, hey, everything indicated to us that it could last another 2 years. In this particular section, it didn't. Other areas, I think we're going to be spot on.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
John, you mentioned that Baxman Woodman's going to do some of his work and in-house. Where does, I guess this is a question where Jeff comes in too. Where does, when you're saying in-house, are you talking our hourly rate for our engineer that when he's working for the city of Wooddale? Because this is exceeding, this would be over and beyond what our contract was, right, Jeff? John, someone?
Let me actually answer the first part of your question first, and then I can hand it over to Jeff. This is a contract outside of the engineering on-staff, City of Wooddale, city engineer portion. This is Public Works having Baxter Woodman complete a street sufficiency study, pavement management plan, whichever acronym you would like to use for it, for our city streets for the next 5 years.
Okay,
Okay?
so let's go to in-house then. You're saying in-house, Public Works is, your guys are gonna do that?
No. Baxter and Woodman is going to be completing the evaluation and making the report. Public
Okay.
Works is going to aid them in the sense of, we're going to give our input on the streets that we feel, we're going to give them the history of the pavements that have been repaired.
All right, I understand.
There will be no, I mean, we're going to be working hand in hand with them in the evaluation of them. They're going to be using their trained staff to use the input that we give them, the historical data. Then they're going to go back, they're going to compile that, make their recommendation, make their street rankings, and then compile a list for us to follow for the next 5 and out years for replacement, and what we anticipate we're going to need to spend, what areas we can do differently, whether we can do some crack sealing, whether we can do some micro surfacing, whether we can do other avenues which we have not done before. Traditionally, we've normally just done full depth patching, we've done resurfacing and reconstruction. Those are the 3 things that have been done in the years I've been here. We're going to look at doing something different.
Okay, nothing to do with the in-house engineering.
Correct.
Kristen Winger.
One more thing, I have one to start off with, the alley by the church. I almost lost my car in there,
Okay,
so.
we already know that. Alderman Winger.
Okay, this is not a new idea that we do a street sufficiency study, and the going rate has been 40 to 50,000. Each time we do it, we've done it probably 2 to 3 times now, and we need some type of criteria to judge the streets on. Let's not try and, nitpick this thing for the next hour. That it's important to do it. I don't want it in-house. It's best done by an outside engineering firm, and it gives an impartial view on things, and there is criteria that you're going to judge the streets on, correct? And to do an x-ray of the streets is probably cost prohibitive, and let's go with this. It's not a new concept we're doing, and it's important to do it from time to time. And it also provides legitimacy for doing the streets that we're going to do. So it's important, and let's do this.
Alderman Coles.
I believe, let's get this okayed, because I think it's very important. I have one thing, though. John, how good do you know Tom in Addison Township? The guy that's take care of the streets?
Are you talking about Deer Path?
I'm familiar with Rich
Yes, I'm
Caskey.
talking about Deer Path.
It's Rich Casket.
What? Yeah, but the guy I talked to was Tom when he was doing Oak Meadows. He came to my house.
They were just out there patching at Deer Path today.
They did it today? Not this morning, though, because I almost broke a tire this morning. Did they-
I believe the city went out there today and patched it all up today.
The city did that?
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was,
Not all of it.
Go ahead.
We've been working hand in hand with the township. If we
Oh.
go out, we do the complete street. If they go out, they do the complete street.
because I almost broke a front wheel today on it. I wasn't driving, but my wife went right into it. There was a hole there that went right across the whole street. And she hit it pretty hard. So I wanted
Weather
to
permitting,
I wanted to tell you tonight, and I forgot about it until we started talking about this.
They went out there today to do it. Okay.
weather permitting, we're out pothole patching as often and as frequently as we can. And that is on our number 1 top list. That street goes down fairly often.
Yes, it's beat up. Let's get this over with and I'll make a motion. So somebody second it?
The motion's not to succeed over 40,000, correct?
Right. Is there a
did say
question?
Ex- No,
There's a motion, there's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item number 7, report of recommendation, pay request number 6, partial CA cement for an amount not to exceed $153,680.51 for the Elmhurst reconstruction project. That is my motion.
I'll second that.
Question?
These numbers don't balance. Is there somebody who can help me with that?
What don't balance, Mayor? What don't balance?
Contract award, $2,124,000, paid to date, $2,094,000. This payment, $153,000. That would be $2,240-some thousand. With still $136,000 over and above that to go.
Mayor, we're checking those figures as we speak.
If you want to get back to it on that, you're going to do another line item, that's fine too.
Well, there's a motion on the floor, there's a second.
Well, why don't we recess that one?
Or if you want to table the
Yeah, table
council.
it or recess it.
We'll
Recess that motion.
recess that motion at this time.
You mean take a recess?
Yes.
Yes. That's 5 minutes. It's a break. 5 minutes recess. Okay. Same people came back. Thank you for coming back. The new amount, if you look on the first cover letter that was given to you, amount paid to date, instead $2,094,821.66. The amount that was paid for this project right now has been $1,834,983.10. So that calculates that we are going to pay out $153,608.51. But we also holding a retainer of $166,230.05 for this project. Amount remaining to pay out on this project will be of $136,009.39. So, okay, John, did I make a mistake there?
I apologize for the very confusing Excel document that is presented before you. I assure you that we will not use that format again.
Okay,
That's a no-no.
okay. So we did have a motion on the floor at one time, right?
Yes, we did. I made the motion.
So we need to receive the motion, the first motion on the floor, we need to take off. Okay, the motion is second, okay.
Yeah.
So any questions on that? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item number 8, request payment, final Concord construction amount of $24,955 for the north facility for extension. That is my motion to pay that.
I'll make a motion, I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 9 is, you guys were just handed that tonight, of the pile of dirt on Commercial Street. We are going table that at this time, for you guys could review that document, and hopefully we could have, Mayor, can we have discussion on that in council? So we'll bring it back to council to review. Okay, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay. And now, we'll get into the good one. Item number 4, report and recommendation, HR Green Treatment Plant. As they set up for this presentation today, there's been a lot of work put into this from staff time and our in-house engineer and a lot of meetings. The thing what I would like to open this up with is that we would like to show you a few pictures of the treatment plant that we took on a tour. We would like to show you those before we start in with the presentation on what the treatment plant looks like and what we are proposing tonight to do with the treatment plant. So we have a little PowerPoint that will go pretty quick. Look at these pictures that we took. I know I handed you guys a couple pictures already. We have some more pictures that we took, so we would like to show you those before we get into the presentation. Jeff, want to go through those slides here?
Yeah, I'm just gonna breeze through them. I'll keep each one up for, 10 seconds or so. I don't know, Brad, if you want to
I
comment
believe,
on them.
Brad, you want to comment on these pictures since you took them?
In this picture, you're looking at the north facility chlorine contact chamber. I took this picture just to show the deterioration on the side walls from the chlorine reacting with the masonry. That, again, is a similar, just a closer up shot.
I have questions. Are you going to go back to these pictures or ask questions as we go along here?
Well, you can ask questions as we go along, but I was trying to show you guys before we get into, go ahead.
The question is, I see a blue line there.
It's a pipe.
Is that a pipe?
Yes.
Okay. The wall that's deteriorating is,
Yeah, you can see the white streaks, so those are kind of cracks.
those are the cracks?
Yeah, it doesn't
Okay.
quite show up that well in this picture. That shows it a little better. You can see, especially to the left side of the baffle, there's a little hole.
Okay. I just want to make sure I'm understanding
Okay.
this.
That's our annunciation panel. That's our alarm control center for the north facility and our chart recorders in the control room.
And I believe with these, the reason why we're showing you the control room, these are components that pretty much runs the treatment plant, and the problem is they're so outdated that we can't get parts for these anymore.
Yeah, each one of those horizontal roads has a circuit board that controls them. And as of right now, our last one we have is in there. So we have no replacement parts for it.
You can't find parts for these?
They have to custom build them.
They would have to custom build it if we needed one.
Okay.
That's our motor control center. Controls our excess flow pumps on the right and various plant equipment, switchgear. And that's our raw sewage pump controller with VFD and the